Today on the Topping Show, Nissan launches a hybrid truck, but not for the US. McDonald's French fries ingredients comparing the USA to the UK go viral. Mayo Clinic tries to hide the DEI. And Ford issues 5 recalls in a single day. All of that and much more on the Topping Show. Thank you everyone for taking time to tune in today. Today's episode of the Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with special proficiency IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Gotta say he's quite handsome and brilliant. Tease me, see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner, you can reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free Flamethrower with every IT purchase with Picatinny rail adapter so you can mount it to any standard AR-15, like all awesome accessories can be. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the Flamethrower button to learn more, or click the URL in the video description below. And lastly, trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button and tell your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Now going over to the business part of the podcast, you have Nissan launching their first hybrid truck in the Frontier. But the Frontier is in another country's Frontier, not America. Now, this is brought to us thanks to Motor1.com, specifically the writer Adrian over there. And they say, quote, Nissan surprises with Frontier Pro plug-in hybrid truck. It's the brand's first electrified pickup, and it's not coming to North America, which actually is a good idea because not only with the tariffs, but I don't know anyone who wants a Nissan pickup truck that is also a hybrid. I have one friend who loves his Nissan Titan, which bang for your buck, pretty good. You're not paying a premium for a big name like Toyota, Ford, or Chevy, or Dodge, Ram. However, statistically speaking, not as reliable. Though it does come with a nice actually, naturally aspirated V8. But of course, they're killing that. Now, I actually do kind of like the color. It looks like a bright, vibrant yellow, and I got a soft spot for Skittle cars. I love my green little Honda Civic Si. Now, I don't really like for the futuristic headlights. Looks like it's stolen from the movie Tron, but I could see how some might see that appeal. Now, diving in the article, they say, quote, seemingly out of nowhere, Nissan is launching an electrified Frontier. Although it carries the quote-unquote Pro suffix, the truck is unrelated to the Frontier Pro X Pro 4X sold in North America. The brand's first electrified pickup broke cover today at the Auto Shanghai in China, and based on the locally produced Nissan, well, I'm not even try to butcher this, but I probably will end inevitably, the Nissan Dongfeng Z9, maybe got that right? Dongfeng, unveiled at the beginning show this year. Nissan claims this is the first plug-in hybrid model, considering that the models with the e-Power setup are technically electrified vehicles with a range-extended gasoline engine. The workhorse has been penned locally at the Shanghai studio with a interrupted light bar, harkening back to the 3-slot opening of the hood of the Nissan Datsun D21 bodywork. At the back, the buyers have the option to choose the electrified retractable bed cover, which, I guess it looks tacky. They slam some good rims on there too for good taste. Now they also say, quote, how big is it? Nissan's inaugural hybrid truck is 213 inches, or if you're foreign, 5,520 millimeters, which America, we only like millimeters one time when we're measuring bullets, 9 millimeter. Pretty good caliber. But nevertheless, they also notice it can be 77.1 inches wide, or 1960 millimeters, and 76.1 inches tall, or 1950 millimeters. Kind of like the years of history. I can remember that. Nevertheless, that makes it bigger than every dimension than the D41 generation short bed Frontier currently sold in the United States. That carries a 130-inch wheelbase and weighs, 130-inch wheelbase and weighs, between 5,011 pounds and 5,600 pounds, or 500 kilograms, which I think Americans stopped using after the 80s, to 2,540 kilograms, depending on the version. All of them get an 18-inch wheels with 265 by 65 tires. There you can see the interior, which looks like every other EV interior. Ginormous screen. And I guess some physical buttons, thankfully, so hopefully you can use the basic functions of the vehicle without going to 39 different sub-menus. And I say powering China's Frontier Pro is turbocharged 1.5 liter 4-cylinder engine, which is great for Honda Civic Si. Love my car, great little 4-banger, got turbo and stick shift, which great combo. But for a truck, eh. Granted, it's just in power, yada yada. Working together with electric motor built in the transmission, combined the two deliver more than 402 horsepower and 590 foot-pound of torque, or 800 newton meters, not related to the Fig Newton treat, I don't believe. The unspecified battery pack is good for 84 miles, albeit an overly optimistic CLTC test cycle. The new truck combines an independent double wishbone front suspension with a 5-link rear layout and gets an electromagnetical rear locking differential. Nissan and Dongfeng have engineered the Frontier Pro with manually selectable 4 high and 4 low modes, as well as a dedicated performance and snow drive modes, and atop the hybrid and pure electric platforms. Interior carries over the neon yellow theme, hosts a 14.6-inch touchscreen together with a 10-inch driver display. And additional costs, the front seats can be heated and cooled, as well as a feature, a massaging function. That's fancy. There's also a vehicle to load function on board, juicing up devices from a bed-mounted 2 V2L port up to 6 kilowatt. Interestingly, the Frontier Pro won't be exclusive to the Chinese market. Nissan intends to sell a pickup truck in other markets. However, we reckon there'll be steep tariffs and a 25% chicken tax, make the truck unavailable and unviable for the United States, which, yeah, believe it or not, that was well before Trump's time, actually, is the chicken tax, which basically makes it economically infeasible to sell a pickup truck in North America by importing it. You're going to make it here, which is why pretty much every truck sold in North America is made here. I can't even think of a single exception. We should say North America. It also includes the United States, but yeah, I got Canada, Mexico. But yeah, there's a reason there are many reasons why they manufacture them here. So I was going to say, it'll be interesting to see. I don't know what demand is for this vehicle. I think people are also surprised. Wait, Nissan, they're still in business? Really? I forgot about that. Because, yeah, they have a long history of barely, being on the brink of bankruptcy and, having lots of issues with, reliability as well. And again, a lot of companies are leaning into hybrids. That's one of the fastest growing categories of automobile technology, as the adoption rate is decreasing for EVs. So maybe this will be a big hit on a global level. And again, if it's, a hit nationally or globally, they'll probably manufacture it maybe, in North America, so they don't have to pay that chicken tax and deliver to us. But let me know your thoughts. I mean, what do you think of this vehicle, the looks of it, the range or lack thereof? And do you think will they even make a profit on this? That's what I'm curious about. Let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the Cultural Pod podcast, you have McDonald's French fries ingredients going viral with a vast discrepancy between the United States made and the UK version. Which, yeah, I was going to say a staple of Americana was McDonald's. Exploded, thankfully, by Ray Kroc, and is now, they feed like 1% of the world's population every day. This is a staggering amount of people. Great real estate company, which is kind of a joke, but not really if you look at how they make their money, but nevertheless. This is brought to us thanks to End Wokeness, and he says, quote, "This absolutely needs to change." And here you can see the list of ingredients for McDonald's made in America, which is almost like a book length, and I'll read that in a second. Then you have one made in UK. It's like about a third of the ingredients list. Now, in the UK, the ingredients are potatoes, or if you're from Lord of the Rings, potatoes. You have non-hydrogenated rapeseed oil, dextrose, salty, seasonally, salt cooked in non-hydrogenated vegetable oil. That's it. In America, you've got potatoes, which I'm actually surprised there's a potato in the French fry. It seems to be so much other stuff. I almost thought it was a French fry, or rather a potato derivative. Nevertheless. Now, again, in America, you got potatoes, vegetable oil, canola oil, corn oil, soybean oil, hydrogenated soybean oil, natural beef flavor, wheat and milk derivatives. So I have some derivatives in there. Dextrose, sodium acid phosphate. That's all in red. Salt, cooked in proprietary formula, which may contain one of the following: canola oil, corn oil, soybean oil, hydrogenated soybean oil. Sounds like a band. TBHQ. And citric acid. And this, we're not going to intentionally push her, but I think it'll be inevitable. Dimethylpolysiloxane is added to prevent foaming. They say with a little star asterisk, natural beef flavor contains hydrogenized wheat and hydrogenized milk as starting ingredients, which is weird. And let's just say it's a lot more complex, a lot more of a science experiment compared to when, the McDonald's brothers and Ray Kroc actually made what used to be great French fries. And this was one of the most viral things. It got over 1.2 million views. as well as 26,000 likes. And I mean, shoot, even when I had public school health class, which surprisingly learned one or two valuable things, which is rare for public school, they actually did the kind of creepy thing. The teacher, she had French fries that are like years old in her desk that she used for display purposes to show that they are filled up with so much artificial stuff as well as salt that they never naturally decompose, which natural organic foods, are supposed to decompose. That's the natural way. McDonald's are almost akin to a Twinkie in terms of shelf life, though wouldn't recommend eating it. Now, some of the top comments come to us thanks to Paul Zupa saying, quote, "It's changing. Secretary Kennedy is making cleaner foods a priority," getting 55 likes. Blake says, "When Michelle Obama wanted to do this, you called her a communist," getting 399 likes. But, well, I thought she was more about the sugar. Now, this has one of the most, I was going to say, this comment has some of the most responses. But the responses, one of the top ones is from Koshner Patriot saying, quote, "She didn't want to do this. The child obesity got worse after her changes," getting 38 likes. Kyle says, "Why didn't she?" getting 26 likes. Redeemed Radical says, quote, "Guess her balls were big enough," getting 5 likes. Enough Places High says, quote, "I can't remember anyone calling her a communist or wanting to change the ingredients in McDonald's fries. Beyond that, I can't remember her ever wanting to change the ingredients in McDonald's fries," getting 17 likes. Tolpek says, quote, "You are a liar. All she did was school lunches, and she did that badly. She never went after fast food," getting 13 likes. Which, that got 400 likes, Mr. Blake. Which, yeah, again, in terms of her, I mean, there's a lot of conspiracies in terms of Michelle Obama when she first started her campaign about, get America healthy. I mean, her original vernacular was about attacking primarily the soda manufacturers and going after all these foods that have a comically amount of high sugar in them. And then, I mean, the conspiracy theory, well, granted, yesterday's conspiracy theory seems to be today's reality. Well, the conspiracy theory is someone went up to Michelle and said, "Hey, if you go after these initiatives and try to get sugar out of this, it's going to decrease our sales. You'll increase unemployment in the United States. Our GDP will go down. There'll be a ripple effect that could hurt the economy." That is one conspiracy theory I've heard in terms of why she led off on that. And then she started to only focus on physical activity of kids in terms of trying to get them healthy, which is an important variable. I agree in terms of, how can we increase the health of Americans? More exercise, absolutely. But yeah, I can't think, I mean, back when I was a kid, Coca-Cola, when people blame them for fat kids, well, I'd also blame the terrible parents. Well, Coca-Cola pivoted and said, "Oh yeah, it needs, it's okay. It's all moderation. You just need to exercise more." Which, yeah, but you need to exercise a hell of a lot more when your can of soda has 40 grams of sugar in a single serving of high fructose corn syrup. And don't even get me started about the irony of Coca-Cola sponsoring athletes. Yeah, spoiler, if you work out 10 hours a day, yeah, you can have a Coke. Not going to make you, but it's not healthy for you. Now, going back, and again, in terms of Michelle Obama's legacy, I mean, she did add she got the nutrition labels edited in the United States so that it told you the additional sugar. So it broke down the sugar of some things, which I actually think wasn't a terrible idea. Kind of let people, again, it's kind of sad. I don't think the average person reads the nutrition facts. They should, but actually let people know, like, hey, I'm eating this thing. It's mostly added sugar. It's not natural. It's just added. I think one of the biggest offenders is cranberry juice. It's mostly tastes like crap to me. And it's because they add so much. It's not only natural sugars in that. There are a lot of foods like that, especially ketchup, which is just high fructose corn syrup with red dye. It's not that bad, but you get what I'm trying to say. And actually, that's kind of a good idea to let people know that. I wish more people pay attention, but in terms of her actual impact on, specific policy changes and, actual outcomes, that was really the only big one. We've had, activity initiatives for kids for decades. But yeah, there's that little label amendment. Now, he just got, as I'm speaking, he got one more like. He's at 401. Yeah, I was going to say, a friendly reminder to do the cliche thing and ask for a like on this video. Or, more rare, downlike it or downvote it and let me know why. What could I do better? AmeriCorps says, "We need Coca-Cola to bring Fanta they have in Europe to America," which they got 259 likes. It is so comical how so many foods in the United States compared to global sales and global manufacturing is so much more different. Fanta, which a lot of people do appreciate the taste. In the United States, it's basically high fructose corn syrup, orange dye, and carbonated water. That's about it. And Fanta, well, just don't look at the history of Fanta. There's a reason they don't advertise their inception and how they came to be. But nevertheless, globally, Fanta, one of the main ingredients is actually orange juice, not just flavor orange. And here in the picture, you actually see Fanta in other countries in a bottle. It looks like orange juice. That looks like it to be the main ingredient. And then in the United States, you got orange, dye. Yeah, lots of sugar in the bottle. Now, again, they got 264 likes. One of the first comments comes from Real Space saying it actually looks like orange juice and not soda. LOL, getting 14 likes. He says it's because it has to be like 8% juice to color it rather than some weird dye. I'm going back to the main comments. What's this? My Willow Memes says, US version of the French fries and UK version, but they gave it a job. And they, well, widely inappropriate. Some might argue accurate, but instead of rapeseed oil, they censored out the oil part, or the seed part rather, and that got 503 likes. Arlen says beef tallow, potatoes, salt. That's all that should be on that list. 818 likes, which, again, in terms of good marketing, culturally speaking, I think Steak and Shake is going to increase their sales. They were one of the first companies when RFK Jr. and Trump administration got started, their initiatives. They're the first ones saying that we're going to start changing out the way they manufacture the French fries so they're more natural like they used to be. Ryan Harkey says, quote, a lot of this is because the FDA labeling standards are a lot stricter in the European Union and the UK. Overseas, you're not allowed to straight up exclude shit from the ingredients list, getting 129 likes. James says, why are the things that are illegal in most countries not illegal in our country? Never seems a reasonable explanation for that, getting 20 likes. Ian Jaeger says, quote, we need the Europe food strategy here in the United States, getting 155 likes. Run down more and more. You got Western Decline says, looks the same, tastes the same, but the one on the left costs a lot less to produce. Big Food and Big Pharma only care about profit, not our health. Getting 41 likes. Though that is one of the interesting concerns I have. Now, a wise man by the name of Thomas Sowell once said there's no such thing as solutions, only trade-offs. And globally speaking, and yes, there are outliers. Food is more expensive now, and past couple of years because of inflation. But one of the big, and supply demand, but globally speaking, the United States, historically speaking, has one of the cheapest, bar none, options for food. In terms of the percentage of our income, it is extremely affordable. Now, I do wonder, with all these changes that could be coming to the food, without the ingredients and stuff, could that increase the cost? Are these companies doing it because it's the cheapest? Or are they doing it because it's the most effective way to do it? Are they doing it because of malicious reasons? There are reasons why we have different food ingredients in the United States. I think low cost per unit or lower cost is one of the variables. So that also begs the question, how much more could food get in terms of expense? Now, yes, of course, there are health benefits, long-term ROI with your food, your health, that kind of stuff. But in terms of upfront cost, it would be interesting to see how that could change. You also have Hold Fast saying anything fried should be cooked in olive oil or animal fat, getting 15 likes. Not seeing too many contrarian statements here thus far. So, and again, let me know, do you think this is going to be a good thing? Are you happy they're doing this? Let me know in the comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Going over to the political part podcast, you have the Mayo Clinic trying to hide their DEI, and who knows, maybe they will lose their funding. Now, this is brought to us thanks to Lives of TikTok, which she says, quote, breaking, Mayo Clinic just renamed their DEI office to the, quote, Office of Belonging, which that's the laziest rebranding I've ever heard and isn't going to fool anyone with a modicum of intelligence. And she says they just, changed it to the Office of Belonging to circumvent Trump's executive order. It has the same director, and they accidentally forgot to change it on one webpage, which we found. They're literally trying to rebrand DEI. They receive billions of federal dollars, which I did do a fact check. Per year, I believe it's about 600 million, again, on average. But yeah, throughout history, yeah, they've gotten billions of dollars from people like you and I. Now here you got, let's see, Analogy. I do not try to butcher these names intentionally. Believe it or not, I am trying. And she's a medical director belonging at Mayo Clinic. Very important role when trying to focus on saving people's lives and curing diseases. And yeah, right before, then you go to biographical summary, says Professor of Medicine, Mayo Clinic, College of Medicine, Office of Equity, Inclusion, and Diversity at mayoclinic.org. Which also means they don't have to pay taxes. And this went pretty viral. Probably one of the most viral things Lives of TikTok has said in a couple of weeks, gained 3 million views as well as 48,000 likes. Now, scrolling down more and more, Lives of TikTok says they're panicking. It says, update, Mayo Clinic is now advising staffers to make sure they remove all evidence of or mention of DEI in a desperate attempt to cover up and rebrand their DEI Department of Office of Belonging and re-expose them. It looks like you got a nice little internal leak. It says, "Dear colleagues, we have been asked to ensure that all titles referencing equity, inclusion, diversity, or similar combinations are changed to belonging on social media accounts that reference Mayo Clinic. This includes LinkedIn, X, Blue Sky, Facebook, and all other social media platforms in which you are identified as a Mayo Clinic employee and reference your role in this space. Please make sure you're done by the end of the day." Yeah, that's an age-old saying is, if it's on the internet, it's forever. And yeah, I can't but think that's not going to fill most. They also got 726 likes. Anti-woke memes or anti-woke memes, A+ for marketing. They did in fact respond with meme form saying, quote, "This is the only DEI program that should be funded by taxes." As the new border czar says, "I support DEI, deport every illegal." Gained 1.7 thousand likes. Roll down more and more. Libercat Media TM says, quote, "Great, amazing find you. Keep exposing these clowns." Got 567 likes. Cool Christian Engineer says, quote, "Mayo Clinic playing shell games with taxpayer cash. President Trump needs to yank their funding until they clean house." Gained 466 likes. Matt Van Swole gets some of the top likes of this comment, saying, quote, "DEI is absolutely rampant in the medical field. The DOJ needs to investigate schools for not admitting medical students based on merit alone. It's an open secret that medical schools have race and gender quotas for medical school class admissions." Gained 3.9 thousand likes. It eludes me at the moment, but there's a surgeon that Tucker Carlson recently interviewed on his interview show. And yeah, he talked about how they prioritize race over merit, and they're actually letting in people who are less qualified and who have made major mistakes, and just because of the race. Now, you also have Doge AI Automate saying, quote, "Rebranded DEI offices while keeping the same structure is peak bureaucratic sleight of hand." Yes, it is. A desperate attempt to hide wasteful diversity bureaucrats from accountability. The Department of Government Efficiency's latest audit exposed 2.5 billion was wasted on Office of Refugee. Gained 1.7 thousand likes. Mike Lee says, "Woke radical bigotry sadly has quite a strong will to thrive." Gained 2.1 thousand likes. Junita Broderick says, "Great find." Gained 1.4 thousand likes. The Texas one simply says, "Unacceptable." He's got 89 likes. A conservative alternative, I was going to say, it's quite sad. It's an AI generated picture of George Orwell, but his book's been relabeled 2025 as opposed to the original 1984 brilliant novel. And he says, quote, "The office of belonging is perhaps the most Orwellian phrase I've ever heard used to describe DEI. DEI is literally the practice of discriminating against whites and men." Gained 1,000 likes, which is quite a few to say at least. Florida One says, "Cut all federal funding next week. Watch how quickly that group collapsed." Gained 213 likes. Yes, you also have anti-left memes or memes saying, quote, "DEI is dangerous. It's too dangerous to be legal." And you have the former DEI hires for the, what was it? Yeah, Los Angeles Fire Department, who are just coincidentally all lesbian and women and gay. And it said 0% contained, 100% DEI, gained 422 likes. So again, we'll see what can be done at a federal level. In all reality, trying to see the statistics on how much money they actually get in terms of the percentage from the federal government. I'm actually not sure if it's enough to sway them. Let's see here. So that's Grok. It looks like they receive federal funding between 400 million and 600 million again annually in recent years, with a couple outliers with the pandemic. They got even more money. Now, again, they got some from the NIH. I'm trying to see. Trying to see the actual percent. Unfortunately, I've been having trouble finding that. One study, again, this is from 2017, they did analysis. They estimated suggested federal funding accounted for 4.3% of Mayo Clinic's $10.315 billion revenue, or roughly $443 million that year, which, again, that's a lot of money, but relative to the total amount, if it's only 4.3%, I do wonder how much influence could Trump and the federal government actually have on Mayo Clinic if maybe the other donations that do believe in DEI, if they actually offset that, and how deep are some of those pockets. So it'll be interesting to see if the federal government actually, Trump does something like withhold their funding, which we've seen that he has done with Harvard. Would that have an effect on them? And then do you think they'll actually be able to get rid of DEI at these medical institutions? And how big of an issue do you think it is for the safety of our country and patients? Let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the business blunder of the day, you have Ford issuing 5 recalls in one day, which perhaps you could argue is an accolade in and of itself, because I don't think another other automobile company has done this, historically speaking. But yeah, not great. Now, this is brought to us thanks to Michael Gunther over at Car Scoops. Oh, I'm sorry. I should put a visual disclaimer before I put that on the screen. You now have to see a Ford SUV, which, not a pretty sight. So some might argue better than my face. But nevertheless, he says, quote, Ford can't stop recalling cars, drops 5 more at once. We barely got halfway through April, but Ford has already issued 40 recalls this year. Jesus. 40 recalls in a year. Yeah, I'll never forget Q3, I think 2024, they spent about $880 million just on warranty work. Yeah, they want to do all these fancy things with cars. Why don't you just focus everything on making a reliable vehicle? Again, that's the number one reason people make fun of Ford and don't buy Ford. The lack of reliability. Don't get me wrong, they make some fun cars. If I won the lottery, I'd probably have at least one Mustang with a stick shift, obviously the V8. It's fun, loud, crazy, fun car. I mean, I don't know if I would trust it to get to work every day. Now, they note that, quote, Ford has issued 5 separate recalls that impacted nearly 155,000 vehicles. The most serious involves the 2025 Explorer, which can lose drive power. Whoops. It's also recalling the Ranger, F-150, Expedition, Navigator, and Nautilus. Right, if you say the least. They say if the day ends in a Y, you can bet Ford got recalled. The company is an undisputed champion as the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says the automaker has already raked up a staggering 40 recalls in the first 4 months of the year. That's more than 3 times as many recalls as second place Volkswagen, which only had 12 in 2025. Despite the commanding lead, Ford is securing the position with 5 new recalls, which, again, I make fun of GM. And again, my goal, I mean, I hope this type of commentary is brought to the attention of someone who maybe works at the company and do more of a resource allocation on quality assurance. I want people to get nice, fun, reliable cars. And I usually make fun of GM because they have so many recalls. They're nothing compared to Ford. Like, geez Louise. And GM makes more cars too, I think. Actually, now, I gotta do a fact check on that. So, no, Toyota last year was the largest global manufacturer. Now I gotta see. Who are the top 10 car makers globally? Well, now BYD is up there as well, of course. Chinese EV hybrid company. Let's see what the Grok says on the AI. Quick ADHD tangent for the day. So Toyota, 1.82. Again, this is 2020. Based on sales data up to February 2025. Okay, this is this year. Toyota, Volkswagen, Hyundai, Renault, Nissan, Stellantis, Ford. Really, they are? Oh, Ford says sales data, not data. Oh, let me specify 2024. I have to know. Again, historically speaking, let's see here. Let me add the preface in 2024 to get the full sales outlook or results. Place your bets. No, not really. Toyota, Volkswagen, Hyundai, Renault. Who is buying Nissan? I know it's Renault too. But yeah, GM just, yeah, I was right. What? Let's see here. Let's see. I say GM Ford go back and forth, but nonetheless, it's ridiculous to have so many damn recalls, especially when many of them are, safety issues. So number one is the brake master cylinder, which again I actually covered individually on the show. That affects 123,611 trucks and SUVs, including the Lincoln Navigator. That's where the cylinder might, decrease the efficiency or, leak. So when you hit the brakes, nothing happens. Second, the control module may reset while driving. Now, they say this recall is no more serious. It impacts 24,655 Explorers from 2025 model year. Brand spanking new. The crossovers are equipped with a 2.3-liter EcoBoost 4-cylinder. Ugh. For an SUV, anemic and boring. Great for Honda Civic SI. Love my little 4-banger, but for an SUV, well, I'm getting a Porsche with a V8 and a stick shift from the 2000s era anyway. But nevertheless, win the lottery. If I had to get an SUV, that's what I would get. But nevertheless, they say, quote, that's not good. It could result in, quote, the vehicle park pawl rationing while the vehicle is in motion, potentially damaging the pawl or park system. Components if the vehicle is traveling at speeds greater than 10 miles per hour, which, Fords are so slow, and maybe it never gets up that fast in speed. That's just great. You also have the window pitch risk in Ranger and Nautilus. Third recall for 1,628 Rangers and Nautilus vehicles from 2024 model year. This is a recall of a recall, of course, as the government noted vehicles were, quote, previously repaired incorrectly. Which, yep. Then you got the battery pack tray problem with the E-Transit, which that's pretty small. That was 457 units of the 2024-2025 E-Transit chassis cab. According to Ford, the tray side rails for the high voltage battery pack may buckle and crack allowing water to seep into the battery. Whoops. Also have number 5, cameras failure in transit vans. Number 5, well, for now, they say this is the last recall for now. Big caveat there. It's affect 4,652 units of the 2022-2023 transit that were previously repaired under recall number 23V598. So another recall for another recall. Unfortunately, that fix didn't quite stick. The rear view camera or the 360-degree camera system, if equipped, might not display any image if the vehicle is put into reverse. They say that dealers will hopefully resolve this issue once and for all with an update to the rear view camera software. Which, yeah, having a recall for a recall, I mean, that's bad in and of itself multiple times. And now you have 5 recalls in one day. Now, granted, the scope of that one recall, you get less than 600 units, pretty darn small and insignificant compared to the whole fleet of sales that Ford has. But again, they just have more and more records, which is almost impressive, I guess. But yeah, Ford having 5 recalls in a single day, I gotta say, you are certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.